AITAH for digging into my brother's girlfriend's past and telling him the results. My younger brother, Adam, had a rough childhood, to say the least. Our father passed away when he was under 10 from cancer. Our mother is likely bipolar but definitely narcissistic tendencies and abusive. I'm older by a decade and did what I could when I could for him, but basically I failed to protect him and didn't understand what he needed. All that to say that his descent into alcoholism wasn't a surprise, it was expected. A couple years ago he had an incident that caused him hospitalization and began his recovery and sobriety. He's over 2 years clean now, hugely due to the new relationship he started months after his incident with a kind-hearted lovely woman, I'll call her Eve. He brought Eve over to meet us shortly after they met and she's been a welcome part of our family. She makes gifts for my kids and treats. She's always fun to speak to and her quirkiness fits in beautifully. As we got to know her, we've learned about how traumatic her life has been. They're kinda trauma bonded, but she's so understanding and empathetic. She told us about her twin who passed away in high school, how her siblings and parents loved him more and treat her badly as the survivor that was always less than. She also had another brother who passed away in war in Iraq, that was the golden child after her twin passed. She couldn't seem to gain her mother's approval or attention and we bonded over those feelings of not being wanted or good enough. She told us she was originally from Scotland, her father was a sheep farmer who moved to America to buy a cattle farm because of the cowboy movies, so she has dual citizenship. She also said because of this she spoke 16 languages. She worked at a college and had multiple degrees too. Overall she was incredibly nice, took good care of Adam and seemed super well educated and proper. Sometimes she had her Scottish accent too, because she'd been around her family. Then she started to tell us about her past relationships, 3 divorces. One was from a person who had gender reassignment surgery, the other passed away by his own hands and the last had attempted to take her life, shot her and then had ran from the cops to a ditch where he passed away. She showed my kids the scar. I felt like after 2 years of knowing her, she was a great fit, so last week when they had a bad argument I tried to reassure Adam. I had him come over to talk and he told me that she had lied to him about not speaking to a friend of hers anymore. Some guy who was apparently a popular guy in high school. She lied because she didn't want to believe he wasn't a good guy because she's had so much bad luck with men. Adam was struggling to move past the lying but wanted to work it out and I support him in whatever he does. I talked to my husband about it and he asked the most basic question, how does she have a high school popular kid here in town if she was raised in Oklahoma on a cattle farm? Honestly, I have PTSD so my brain sometimes gets mixed up. I assumed I was wrong. It turned over and over in my head though, for a couple days. I finally caved while my husband played video games and began a casual search into her. Googled her name and her address came up. Then I realized her history of addresses were all in America, all going back pretty far. So I checked her parents and their addresses went back in America to before she was born. I was so confused I googled them and found recent obituaries of her grandparents on both sides. They're all from America, and they only mention 3 kids by her parents, ever. Obituaries usually list preceded in death, and these do, but no grandkids in that list. No additional brothers of hers. Not only that but she lived at the same address her whole life in Kansas. I looked it up on a map and found the high school nearby and searched the yearbook. Found her 12th grade, no twin, okay but he passed away so I checked 9th grade, also no twin. The deeper I dug, the more proof of the lies. Only 2 marriages on record, both still alive, one did change names from male in the marriage to female in the divorce but that seems to be the only true thing she's ever said. It's absolutely shocking. Finally my husband said I had to tell Adam. I was against it and then as the pile got larger I said it was an in-person conversation. He insisted it needed to be done so I put it all together into a document and messaged Adam. I asked a few clarifying questions, about the twin and the ex-husbands. I apologized and provided the information to him and hoped I was wrong. Within 10 minutes of sending it to him, he said that she admitted everything to him. He's absolutely lost now. 2 whole years, so many lies. I'm just baffled. Why? Like if they ever got married it would have unraveled so quickly. As it stands she's been able to keep him away from her family by allowing them to disrespect their age gap. He's noticeably younger than her. She refused to go to an uncle's funeral earlier this year because she claimed he was a predator. I hate questioning that but maybe she just didn't want Adam to find out that her uncle was born and raised in Kansas, not Scotland and so was her dad. She was here with my kids, having them feel the bullet wound scar from an incident that never happened. There's no criminal records for either of the exes. There's none for her either thankfully, but good lord. I wish I could put the cat back in the bag on this one. Why lie? And why didn't I check her background sooner? I literally check the kids my kids date in high school to make sure their parents aren't on a registry or anything. I should have checked her much sooner. Now the life and family they were building is in ruins and I'm terrified of him losing his sobriety. I'm feeling really guilty for looking it up and telling him too, not sure I did the right thing because he's heartbroken. AITAH, AITAH has no consensus bot, OOP was being leaned toward NTA. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You didn't get Seuss when she said she spoke 16 languages. OOP. No, because she actually spoke something when asked to speak each language by my kids. I only know English, enough Spanish to ask where the bathroom and library is and some sign language from when I was a kid, so super rusty, think alphabet, every cuss word and thank you basically. There are people who speak lots of languages and again, she worked at a college where she had claimed to gotten multiple degrees so she could have taken language classes there. It didn't come off as lies or exaggeration. I'm generally very skeptical of everyone but she's older than me and had worked there for many years so it didn't seem like a stretch if she's got no kids and has had 25 plus years to do anything she wanted with her life. Commenter 2. She told us she was originally from Scotland, her father was a sheep farmer who moved to America to buy a cattle farm because of the cowboy movies, so she has dual citizenship. She also said because of this she spoke 16 languages. Not being funny, but how does having dual citizenship with the UK bestow upon her 16 languages? Did they plug her into the matrix? She worked at a college and had multiple degrees too. Please be less gullible, going forward. Life is full of bullshitters but the beauty of them is they're easy to spot because they always go too far. 16 languages, multiple degrees that haven't turned into anything, 3 divorces. Who has the time? Oop. Well, her degrees did turn into something. She worked at a college the time and when that job ended she's now working as an engineer. If you work at a college they let you take classes free or reduced. She probably has some of the degrees and she could have taken the language classes. There's people famous here for learning lots of languages and she called herself a polyglot. I have a friend who is learning Japanese with a tutor and she talked about different tutors she'd used and programs too. It seemed legit but obviously everything she said did and it was all lies. She's old enough to have been divorced 3 times as well, seemed like tragically bad luck or poor judgment but being raised by a narcissist with traumatic childhood made me give her grace and assume she was targeted for being too nice. I really want to argue that I'm not gullible but I have to explain this to my oldest kid when they get back from a trip next week and the only explanation is that I was incredibly gullible. My oldest kid is also super fond of this woman and I know it's going to hurt. Oop explains on how long it took to figure things out with her brother's girlfriend's background. Oop. Well, it was about 4 to 5 hours. It takes a lot of connecting family members and addresses to find the right obituaries and such. I did it for both sides of her family and then the yearbooks are saved with pages you have to individually flip. So I went to the last page and scrolled forward to the index, go the list of places she was pictured, noticed she had no sibling, no same last name, then scrolled page by page to the class photo for the link to attach to the list for him. Going through the court records was time-consuming as well because of registering for it and then opening every single file because I don't know what the case numbers mean for each state to know which ones to skip. She's small and has a lot of medical issues, which is I say that maybe so doesn't. Geez. Well, she claims a lot of them. He's about 10 years younger, over 6 feet and over 200 pounds. I call him my little big brother because he's very Viking. He's safe I think and she's caught red-handed. He also works nights so after their talk he left and won't be back until this morning. I warned him the meltdown could be huge but he said she was just super remorseful. He's debating on if he stays with her because it was just for attention. He loves her and this is really messed up. Thank you. I had some training in my degree path on how to search Google and use these free data aggregation sites with my community college cybersecurity degree. I haven't used it at all except for in hackathons and this weird pastime now of looking into people that join my circle. I had tried to look her up once or twice before but her social media had a different last name and nothing came of it. Honestly, if she hadn't updated it recently to her actual last name I don't think I could have figured it out. You're absolutely limited by what information you have to start with. What's even dumber is I actually had a copy of her driver's license last fall when I helped Adam buy a car and get full coverage insurance. I didn't even look at it, just passed it on to my agent and deleted it. Update. 1 month later. Final update. AITAH for digging into my brother's girlfriend's past and telling him the results. To catch up, brother's girlfriend of 2 years was lying about her past, from the traumatic passing of a made-up twin, made-up older brother, 2 ex-husbands who are still very much alive, a made-up ex-fiancé and a made-up loss of a child, 8. When I posted, I had uncovered some of the lies and forwarded him the proof. She had come clean immediately and taken him to visit her parents to explain it. She has untreated borderline personality disorder apparently. My brother, who I called Adam for this, is a recovering alcoholic with a huge heart. He was absolutely determined to stay with her and not toss her aside for being human. He thought this was the righteous and noble thing to do, to not discard someone who was struggling or damaged in their time of need. My husband and I were determined to support him regardless of his choice because we love him. She told him she could never be around us again and she was scared of us. We assured him that we would never be rude to anyone he dated and that we were more than capable of being around her. I genuinely think when she realized that we weren't going to let her isolate him by pretending like she had a reason to fear us, it was over for her. It lasted only a week after our dinner with him where we showed him unconditional support and reminded him that he was the victim, repeatedly. The following week, she went out with friends to a bar. He asked where she went and with who, since this whole thing started because she was lying about not hanging out with some jerk that didn't respect my brother or their relationship. She said that she didn't have to show Adam anything to prove where she had been and that she can't heal like this. She expected to play the victim to him, as if him asking for accountability and transparency was him being controlling. Then he said that he can't be in a relationship where he can't trust someone. She was clearly hiding who she was with and where she was. In response, she gave him 30 days to move out. So, this weekend we are moving him into his own place. He's, of course, still reeling from the whiplash of whatever the heck the last 2 years of lies have been with a woman he thought he would marry. He has a strong support system though and he's absolutely going to get through this. He's even quitting smoking during this. Which I could not imagine trying to do in this level of chaos, but he is determined. Thank you everyone for the advice and support. Please don't be gullible like we were, and if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I'm so curious, what were the 16 languages? Oop. Well, she claimed to be dual citizen with Scotland, so she said all the languages from that area as well as obscure ones. The ones I remember were like Scottish, Gaelic, German. Obviously not Spanish because we would have immediately caught that lie. She must have memorized phrases in each language because when asked, she would recite some things that sounded like they were appropriate. It was just like a random factoid she'd say and the kids would ask her to say a cuss word or something and we'd move on in the conversation. I never got a complete list, but I absolutely should have asked for it. Commenter 2. Just in case you didn't know. You fucking rock. The way you are your brother's keeper and have his back full score % is great. She knew she wasn't go be able to keep playing him with you in his corner and that's why her ass had to go. Congratulations on getting this dirtbag. See you next Tuesday out of your brother's life. Oop. Thank you for saying this. I felt like such an asshole for snooping and even more so when it started to unravel her lies. He is genuinely heartbroken and he didn't deserve this, so I am working hard to make sure he has everything he needs for this move and he doesn't have to stress as much. I'm really glad he is taking it as well as he is and that he doesn't seem to hate me for it. Sometimes delivering the bad news makes you part of the problem because people can't separate the hurt. I just want him to be okay. Commenter 3. As someone who has a degree in psychology, that's a lot more than BPD. It is typically intense and unstable moods, impulsive behaviors, fear of abandonment, and inconsistent self-image. They typically also struggle with depression, drug addiction, anxiety, or PTSD. Manipulating behavior also occurs, which does sound like what she was doing most by lying to him so much. Is it just untreated BPD or undiagnosed? Because if she is undiagnosed, then you can't even trust that fully either and she seriously needs to go seek help to get properly diagnosed and treated. Oop. According to what her parents told me brother, she was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder in her late teens. She's 43 now. She agreed to go back to therapy following the revelation, but I don't know if she ever actually did. I asked my brother if he was going to go with her to a session to discuss with the therapist what happened and its impact on him, and he was considering it prior to the relationship ending. Not sure if it ever happened. Her parents apologized to my brother, told him he was a great person and they respected him for staying with her despite her lies. Not sure how she's twisting it against him now that he's leaving, but before she deleted me on social media she was posting some pretty, woe is me, victim statements about the relationship ending. OOP on how she and her family believed her brother's ex's lies. Oop. Yes, we did believe all of it. My life has been somewhat tumultuous and there have been people who didn't believe me because the amount of craziness and trauma in it seems made up. My brother lost his father at 9 from cancer. He was my stepdad who raised me. My brother's best friend and him are trauma bonded because he lost his mother at a young age. My brother tends to attract people with loss, so her losses made sense as to why they bonded. Our mother is a narcissist that I'm estranged from, and he still talks to. She's raised us to be the perfect targets for ill behavior because we weren't taught what normal behavior is. Although I've had enough therapy, I thought I was better at spotting it. We have a couple of siblings that have been to jail and are probably undiagnosed BPD or something else. As an example of our life stories, we lost an aunt to a drunk driver after a year-long coma, lost our great-grandma to SI, her father had done the same. I've had a miscarriage past the first trimester, have a narcissist ex-husband who was abusive, had to have a restraining order against him and no contact order for my kid. I've been assaulted twice, most recent one I was diagnosed with PTSD and had 5 years of therapy following it. DBT, EMDR, CBT and group therapy. We've had enough trauma in our lives that her trauma didn't seem impossible. It just made me feel like damn, I met someone with a rougher life than I've had, mine's not so bad. I know that reading the lies she said must seem fantastical, but we learned these different stories over the course of 2 years, while sharing our life stories with her. At the time, it seemed genuine. When she claimed to have been assaulted, she literally played the part well enough that as a victim of assault I believed her. She suddenly had long sleeves in the summer and kept tugging at her clothes. Her eyes darted around the room, she seemed like she couldn't breathe or get comfortable, and she looked like she hadn't slept in days. The level of pretend this lady played was fit for Broadway. I'm not generally a gullible person, she has been doing this so long it's a craft, and she absolutely had me fooled as well as everyone she met when with us. I don't blame us for believing her necessarily, and I know this is an extreme example of lying. Yes, we will be more skeptical about people moving forward, but this is so not normal. I highly doubt we will ever meet someone that lies like this again.